lights are on too. It's kind of dark outside. Okay, we're live again. Let's see if it's working. Do we have chipmunk audio? Let's check the audio. I gotta go back and delete all the chipmunk ones. People give me a hard time about that. I get some funny comments on them later. So anyway, I don't think I'm going to stay very long. I have a whole mess of cooking I need to do, and I was asked to do a foodie video. I'm going to film it. I'm going to make a few things for the potluck tomorrow. I spent the day cleaning. I'm also seeming to be winning my war on pests. Roaches aren't crawling all over my desk or all over the countertops. They're in and on the walls and everywhere and on me. And I was like, oh, I can't take this anymore. And I got this big big spray bottle. I've been going through everything, busted up several nests. So anyway, what's this about? Well, we've been dealing with the trans wars lately and the misconceptions that the enemies of the transgender people are operating under and trying to convince the general public of the lies that they're just telling lies about transgender people. Debbie Jackson nailed it yesterday. There was a video of like an 11-year-old trans girl in the UK that Mermaids did. There's all these people. Here's these kids coming out. Like Debbie's kid, Avery, wrote a book, self-published a book at age 11 or something, 10 or 11 or something like that, about her experience and how she came out to her family and it's okay to sparkle. It's okay if your heart is not in tune with your gonads. It's okay. It's not a mental illness. It's just one of the things that nature does. And as sooner that people realize that, the happier everybody's going to be. I don't know how hating on somebody makes people happy. I just don't understand that at all. No, it's schadenfreude junkies. They get off on people's misfortune. So anyway, the reason for this and the title comes from a comment that I made. Where'd it go? I seem to have lost that. Let's get back to that. There's a young transgender woman by the name of Anita Noel Green, who made a video to the parents of LGBTQ kids talking about how she was blindsided by her mother into therapy to find out if she was gay. But she found out she wasn't gay, she was trans. So anyway, there's all these comments going on. Hello, let's get there. And I left a comment talking about things. Oh, come on. There we go.
Hey, everyone.
There we go. So here's let me read you some of the comments. Here's one from this is so typical of the experience of transgender people on up to about 10 or 15, 20 years ago at the most. Actually, and it started in Europe. Kim Petras was born in 1992 and was raised as a girl. She came out to her parents when she was little, and they went with it. And more people are doing that. There aren't more transgender people being born. There are more transgender people being open about being transgender because all of a sudden we have like some love and community. And here's this sister says, my parents expressed a number of very homophobic opinions throughout my childhood. Both are very conservative Christians and made sure the connection between hell and being queer was highlighted. My mother, in particular, said on many occasions how she had extreme sympathy for parents of queer kids and how she would die if one of her kids came out queer. All this did for me was keep me right at the back of that closet. Parents need to consider carefully how they express their opinions, or even if they should express their opinions on certain things. And she just started HRT a month ago. And she's saying, having suffered depression and being a generally miserable person for an extremely long time, and something tells me that this is less than 30 years that she suffered it. You know, I put up with it for 60. And within days of starting HRT, the gray cloud started lifting. I've never been as happy and contented as I have been on estrogen. And boy, that's a majority opinion. It was the day I started. I mean, this was even before I started estrogen. The day I stopped pretending, the day I stopped being self-conscious about the way I moved and spoke and posed, and was this incredible weight off my spirit. You know, I told her, no, we don't need to read that. So my comment to the video, I apologize for the book up front. I hope my perspectives will be useful to you and younger gender diverse people in your audience. And here's my Discord server. One of the most common questions people ask transgender people is, when did you realize you were trans? The automatic response to that should be, when did you realize that you were cis? I can tell you pretty much the date and time. It was August 2nd, 1958, the day before my sister's first birthday. Thinking I was going to get my hair done and my cousin's pink dress handed down to me, at about 3 in the afternoon, I was taken around the corner of the barber shop, given my first of many buzz cuts, and dressed up in a silly sailor suit for the party that evening for the family, with a big backyard bash at my grandfather's the next day. I cried for a week. They never understood how I could take shots or the dentist drill without crying, but I'd melt down at the mere mention of a haircut. That was when I found out that I wasn't going to be allowed to be myself because I had a penis. Until that time, I had no idea the thing was used for anything besides peeing. I thought I was one of the girls, but no. Girls don't have a penis, and boys only cry when they bleed. And if I needed something to cry about, they'd be glad to give me a spanking. So I shut up about it and played along as best I could. My family suffered textbook consequences of forcing a child into an unnatural gender role, having to deal with Tourette's-like outbursts of rage on a near daily basis. Because I had a good relationship with the spirit world, I never had any kind of suicidal thoughts. But it was not easy to keep from killing people who were hurting me, starting with my father. When I got big enough to hit back at about 8, they started doping me with Atarax, and I was sent to live with my aunt. For my 65th birthday, he started talking to me again and put me back in the will. He wanted to make my brother trustee, but my brother backed out because my brother's a Christian, and I'm like busting his chops about. I've been busting his chops about, like, hey man, you got a queer sibling, and you're a representative of this church. But anyway, he didn't want to do it because of that. he didn't want to be the trustee. I had to consciously suppress innate feminine movement, posturing, and speech to pass as a straight male. But I was still too pretty and had a swish to my walk. So even though I wasn't allowed to act at least a bit feminine, I still got bullied by the jocks. Gym locker room was a nightmare with my femi body. They all wanted to fuck me, beat me, or both. One Saturday night, I was about 15. They tried to get me drunk and gang rape me, but I realized what was going on while I could still move on my own. When I was still young and pretty, gay guys were constantly hitting on me. If I went to a gay club, I had to keep my ass to the wall and my hands up to cover my boobs. But I always had, even without hormones. My own sexuality is difficult to describe too vividly and totally inappropriate in this moment, so I won't. Just let it suffice to say that the thought of anal sex on the top or bottom horrifies me. And for a life partner, I want a trans man or very masculine woman. Like way too many older trans people, I'm starved for affection. So I'm down for a cis guy who dishes out the hugs and kisses more than he once had. So much has changed in the past 20 years. Doctors realized that conversion therapy was resulting in suicides and started advising parents of gender diverse kids to allow them to make their own decisions about their hair, clothing, and playthings, neither encouraging or discouraging anything, just letting the kids express themselves. The results have been astounding, with clinical studies demonstrating incontrovertibly that when transgender people of any age are encouraged to express themselves naturally in a supportive environment, they test out on a par with or superior to their cisgender counterparts across the board on behavioral health parameters, scholastic, and mechanical aptitude. Most notably, the suicide, self-harm, and substance abuse rates fall back into normal ranges for other demographics. Trans people excel at all the arts and have made some significant contributions to the sciences. Most notably, Lynn Conway with her BSLI patents, which are a critical core component of digital communications processes. Most of all, the internet has connected us to each other, both connecting us to others all over the world and enhancing our local organizing efforts. Having community has brought thousands of us out of the closets and into the streets. We're not isolated freaks to be scorned. We're regular folks with real families. Okay, so the radical fringe is into outrageous sex. So what? You won't see a disproportionate number of trans people committing violent crimes. Not one trans woman has ever committed any sort of a sex offense in a public restroom anywhere, ever. Some clergy and congressperson demanding discriminatory law gets busted for a sex crime just about every week. Go figure that one out. And because people believe this shit. I mean, it's just amazing what people believe about transgender people. It is just totally untrue, completely untrue, ridiculous interpretations of scripture, totally oblivious to the actual history of transgender people in society throughout time. Debunked junk science. I mean, there's the ROGD thing. That paper was shredded by her peers, and they're still like embracing it like it's gospel. But definitely go out and vote next year as if your life depended on it, because it does. Everything we had gained up until 2016 was built on local ordinances and court rulings. There isn't much legislation anywhere that clearly defines sexual orientation and gender identity discrimination as being forms of discrimination on the basis of sex. That's what the Equality Act seeks to correct, and will be a huge element at the Supreme Court ruling on the 3 LGBTQ cases in June. In November, if we do not want to see all of this set into law, we must dump Trump and ditch Mitch, or they will see it done in their next term. Because, and this, I didn't write this in the comment, these people are well organized. They're canvassing for votes from the pulpit. They're getting their people out there. They have gangs. They have sites that are scanning for tags, and then gangs that report things that are contrary to their agenda. We need to get out and vote. The Sanctuary initiative was defeated in Tucson on a total vote of something like 70,000 people. There's a million people in Tucson. I mean, I don't know how many are registered to vote, but it's a hell of a lot more than 70,000. That couldn't have been more than a 5 or 8% turnout. With that kind of turnout, the bad guys are going to win every fucking time. And that's how we ended up with Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell and a whole slew of others like them. So, in closing, the oldest, happiest guy I ever met told me his secret was to live life loving living. And I've done the best I can do to do that. If it's not fun, I simply won't do it. Somehow, I made it to 65 with all my important parts working well. The 4 M's, meditation, music, marijuana, and masturbation, have got me down this long, strange road so far, and there's no end in sight. So did I attract any idiots today? Oh, goodbye, Brandon Anderson. Fuck off. You fucking alt-right douchebags. There's nobody here. I guess this wasn't a good time to stream. So since all I had was an asshole and there's only 2 people in the audience, I'm done saying what I wanted to say. Namaste, motherfuckers, to the assholes. And thanks for watching to the nice people. Happy day. Bye.